Hello, friends, and welcome back to the press box. Wow, I don't know about you, I was really feeling that. Man, I can see why Jim Nantz does it. That feels really good, doesn't it?
Yeah, but he's Jim Nantz. You're not Jim Nantz.
I know, but it just feels really
You're Mark
smooth.
Haskell.
Well, yeah, that's right. Thanks.
Try to be Mark Haskell, not Jim Nantz.
All right, thanks for the plug.
Kidding.
Welcome to the press box. Mark Haskell, Zach Miller, we're back. And we've got lots going on. We've got NCAA basketball. We've got Bruins to preview. We've got Celtics to preview. But before we get into all that, Zach, we got a little business to take care of, don't we?
Yeah, we do. I'm just kidding, by the way. That was a pretty good plug.
Yeah, thanks.
So yeah, the VillageSoup Bracket Challenge, inaugural one. It's over, done with. Virginia wins. They beat Texas Tech on a Monday. This is Thursday, so we've had a couple
85-77 in overtime.
Hell
What
of
a game.
It was a great game.
It really was.
It really was. Anyway, let's get back to the challenge. So the winner was our own Tyler Southard, but since he's a VillageSoup employee, he is ineligible for the free year of VillageSoup.
Which, by the way, a striking resemblance to Kentucky's Tyler Hero.
Yeah, let's take a look at that real quick.
Yeah,
it's, I don't know who is who.
If you look at that, oh wow, that's like it's not uncanny, but
I think it's the hair.
Yeah, no, I think and they're both named Tyler. Like it was definitely he was the hero of this bracket challenge.
It's too bad that Kentucky's not closer to here, because we could do like a swap and have Hero come in and do the weather and Tyler go play basketball for Kentucky.
Something tells me Hero's probably got bigger fish to fry than coming on our show.
Yeah, exactly.
He's probably watching.
He's probably wouldn't even fit in the studio either. He's probably too tall.
So anyway, sorry. Tyler was the winner.
Tyler was the winner. Harold Maservi, I think I'm pronouncing that right. I'm sorry if I butcher anybody's name, because I'm not, you're supposed to be good with names, but some are tough nowadays. The results are going on the screen as I'm reading this. He was second, so he is the winner of the free year of VillageSoup for either Knox or Waldo. Third was Meredith Swears, who was at the top of the leaderboard. She was in the first, second, third range for like the whole range, but she winds up third. Also, for the scores that you're seeing now, you're going to see their score, and then in parentheses, you're going to see the amount they got correct. Now, when you look at the ones the amount that they got correct, you'll see that some people are higher than others, but if you got the closer they got to the national championship game, those correct answers are worth more points.
Correct.
That is why. You'll see people that have a higher correct percentage, but they're farther down the leaderboard. Fourth was Michael Robichaud. 5 was Mike Tripp. 6 was Brian Smith. 7 was our own Holly Venor Spicer.
Croatia.
Yeah. I think we should call her Croatia from now on.
I like it. I think we should absolutely do that.
Let's just do it and just see if she notices.
Hey, Croatia, fix my photos. Sorry.
8 was Howard Fogg Jr., 9 was Travis Reynolds, and in 10th was Benji Blake. So that was the top 10 for our VillageSoup Bracket Challenge. Tyler had 128 points, and Benji Blake in 10th had 77, so you can see the almost 50-point discrepancy, actually 51 points actually.
And Tyler Southard and Harold Maservi, who finished atop, they're the only two people that picked Virginia to win it all, and that's why they're sitting up there at the top. Harold I think he was down around 6th or so, but obviously getting the national champion correct, big jump. But obviously Tyler was further up the leaderboard. I think he was first leading coming into this anyway. I believe
he was actually like 5th or 6th, because remember last week we were talking about how he could make that jump because it was the Final Four.
That's right.
If Virginia, because he had Virginia and Michigan State in the championship game. Obviously Michigan State lost to Texas Tech, but he got Virginia. He picked Virginia, and Virginia wound up winning. So he made the biggest jump. He had the most to gain, and he gained it all.
Well, what about us? How did we do?
I finished 14th with 71 points. Not bad. I was 4 points behind Ryan Verrill in 13th. Ken was 12th with 75 points. And 11th was Jim Wolfram, to just kind of give the top 14 there. 15th was Chad Blake, who was right below me with 70 points. And I think I don't have the rest of the stats in front of me.
The page doesn't go down that far,
does it? Doesn't go down that far?
No,
but
it doesn't.
You didn't do too high.
26th out of 29
and
people.
Your wife beat you, too. She was 20th, I think.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Yeah, everybody beat me, so I would imagine. Well, almost everybody beat me. In fact, you know what's interesting? Do you know who finished dead last?
Oh.
Brad King of Rockland. What's interesting about Brad is that he was the winner of our Pigskin Pundit Challenge in the fall.
Oh, I didn't
so,
know that.
I guess anybody can do it. Sorry, Brad.
Exactly. Yeah. But hey, that's it for now. Next year we'll do another one. See, I thought it was fun this year.
Yeah, I think it was fun. I hope we do that again next year. Hopefully we get more people, and hopefully I finish higher than 26th next year. That might be fun too.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's talk a little bit about the national championship game before we switch gears to the Celtics and Bruins. It was a great game, and we talked about this a little bit last week. Virginia winning the national championship was by far the best story of the four.
Oh,
easily.
I
mean, with Virginia losing last year, being the number 1 seed, and losing to number 16 UMBC, the first number 1 seed to ever fall in the NCAA tournament, and then the very next year have them win the national championship. What a story.
You couldn't ask for a better script than that. That's something you see in ESPN 30 for 30. And heck, it might actually be a 30 for 30 in a couple of years from now.
If someone at ESPN isn't writing that for a 30 for 30 right now, they should be fired.
Yeah.
Like that's if I'm thinking of that, you guys should be way ahead of it.
It was the first national championship game since 1979 with 2 first-time teams in there. Here's your trivia. You know who it was, the other one, the first time?
I don't.
Come on. Michigan State, Indiana State, 2 Hall of Famers.
Bird and Magic Johnson.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was in 79. Texas Tech was also the first team from Texas to play in the national championship game since 1984 when Houston played in the national championship game.
That was Olajuwon.
Yes,
that
correct.
was Olajuwon.
And then, I got a bunch of little stats here.
Go ahead.
Virginia also became the first-time champion since Florida won 2006, but that was when Florida had Joakim Noah, and Corey Brewer was on that team as well.
Yeah, I remember that.
And they won back-to-back titles in 2006, 2007. And just talk about dominance, a 1 seed has won the national title 10 of the past 13 years.
Yep, absolutely.
So if you're a 1 seed, it pays off to be pretty good.
I jumped in just to give people some perspective. So Virginia, they beat number 16 Gardner-Webb 71-56 in the first round, 63-51 over number 9 Oklahoma in the round of 32. And then squeaked out a win over number 12 Oregon 53-49. And then the next 2 games are very interesting. So 80-75 overtime victory over number 3 Purdue. Miracle sequence by Iahite to send it to overtime, which was pretty cool. And then the very next game, they win 63-62 over number 5 Auburn. 3 free throws by Ty Jerome with 0.6 seconds to go.
It was a foul.
Yeah, little controversy with the double dribble, all that notwithstanding. What I find really cool, in those 2 games, they trailed with less than a second to go in both of those games because Iahite's shot went in as the buzzer sounded, and they were down 2 with 0.6 left when Jerome was at the line in the Auburn game.
Yeah.
I mean, that's unbelievable.
They came back and won 3 games. They were also trailing in the Texas Tech game. They were down with under a minute to go.
That's right.
Not as late as the other 2, but they were still trailing.
Right, and obviously Virginia, they also win 2 overtime games because the national championship game against Texas Tech went to overtime. And DeAndre Hunter, he had a tying 3-pointer with 12 seconds left to go in the game against Texas Tech. That was great. Kyle Guy had 24. They outscored Texas Tech 17-9 in the overtime. And they opened some eyes, man. I mean, because most people were saying Virginia, of the 1 seeds, they were by far the weakest. And, you could make the argument they didn't beat any really dominant teams. I mean, they didn't beat North Carolina. They didn't beat Duke. They didn't beat Tennessee. There were a lot of teams that kind of fell in that Sweet 16 Elite 8 round. But you just gotta play the games on your schedule, and they got all the way through, and they're the national champs.
Interesting stat about Hunter from Virginia, who led all scorers with 27 points in that game. He didn't have a field goal for the first 18 and a half minutes of that game. So he almost went a whole half without scoring.
Despite the fact that Virginia got off to a really big lead early.
Exactly. Yeah, I thought, when they had that lead, I was like, oh, Texas Tech is in trouble now. But they came back and they battled and they had the lead late. And I went to bed at like halftime. Because it was like the game didn't start till 9:30.
Right.
I was like, I'm going to sleep. I gotta wake up.
I hate that. Full disclosure, I actually did not watch the whole game. I watched lots of highlights the next day, and got but you can't start on the East Coast 9:30. I mean, come on, I got 3 kids. He's got 1 kid. I mean, it's like the Red Sox playing on the West Coast. Like chances are I might watch an inning or 2, and then I'm going to bed.
Yeah, it was also another. I was looking forward to watching. I wish I could have stayed up for the whole thing because Texas Tech and Virginia were all the 2 best defensive teams in the nation this year. And you could tell that when they first started, they went about 6 or 7 minutes, and the score was about 10-6 or something like that. It almost resembled a baseball game or a football game. It was just a great game to watch, and they couldn't ask for a better national championship game.
Yeah. Well, we're going to shift gears now. Now that basketball season is done as far as college goes.
Yeah.
We're gonna chat. We're shooting this on a Thursday, which obviously first day of the Masters. But we've got a big playoff game tonight. The Bruins and the Maple Leafs kicking things off tonight from TD Bank Garden. That's going to be a 7 o'clock puck drop. Zach, you got some stats there. I mean, we got a little bit of stuff to chat about with the Bruins, but why don't you kick it off here? I mean, what do you got for the Bruins versus the Maple Leafs?
Like I said, they start tonight at 7.
Second year in a row these 2 teams have met in the first round.
That's true. I feel like it's been longer than that though.
Seems like every year it's Montreal or Toronto or some original 6 great
somebody
matchup.
From Canada. So game 1's tonight, game 2 is Saturday, game 3 is Monday, 4 is on Wednesday, and 5 is on Friday. These are all 5, 6, and 7 are all if games. So 5 is on next Friday, and then game 6 is next Sunday, and game 7, if they need it, is 2 weeks from this past Tuesday. So it's the Bruins won the season series 3-1. They were 2-0 at home and 1-1 on the road. Interesting stat about those wins, though. Halleck, who their backup goalie. Halak, whatever you pronounce their names. He started 3 of those games with a 2-1 record, and Rask only started 1. And Rask won the game that he started as well. And Rask is going to be starting, obviously, the games during Toronto anyway. But, it's just interesting that Halak started 3 games compared to Rask's 1.
They're kind of interchangeable pieces, the two of them. I was listening to an interview Bruce Cassidy did on a local show here a day or two ago, and he said he's going with Rask, but he feels equally confident in both goalies. I mean, if you look, Rask is a 2.48 goals against average and a .912 save percentage. Halak 2.34 and a .922. I mean, so they're incredibly comparable. I mean, obviously Halak a smaller sample size than Rask, but I mean, you got to say, if Rask gives up a couple goals, I mean, Cassidy's not going to hesitate in going to Halak if that's what he's going to do.
It's also nice to have a backup goalie that can come in and has performed well in the regular season, whereas the Maple Leafs only had Frederik Andersen, who is their only
he's really he's the guy.
Yeah, he's their guy in net, who has a 9.917 save percentage. And you look at these two teams, they're fairly even matched. The Bruins are 3rd in goals against at 2.59. Maple Leafs are 12th in goals against, so there's a little bit of discrepancy there. But the Maple Leafs are 4th in goals per game at 3.49, whereas the Bruins are 11th and 3.13. I mean, that's not really a big difference. If you rounded them, it's still 3 goals a game. I mean, it's going to come down to their offenses. But I think that the Bruins' first line of all the names I got them written down here. Again, there's so many notes. Marchand, Pastrnak, and David Krejci is going to come and play a big factor in this series, I think.
Obviously, they're evenly matched, but contrasting styles. Toronto is very fast. They like to get out and but Boston, I mean, they're more of a defensive-minded team, even though they don't really have trouble scoring goals. In that interview where I was listening to Cassidy talk, he said that he's probably going to sit David Backes game 1 because he's one of their slowest forwards, and he really kind of thinks that game 1 is going to be the fastest game of the series. That the younger guys like Austin Matthews and things like that, they're going to come out, they're going to be guns blazing and really trying to set a tone and get this thing going quickly. For Toronto, I mean, you've got Mitch Marner. He's got 94 points, 26 goals, 68 assists, and then you've got John Tavares, 88 points, 47 goals, 41 assists, and then Matthews, 37 and 36. I mean, those are their bread and butter guys offensively. And Anderson, I mean, like you talked to about a minute ago, he's at a 2.77 goals against average, so he's no slouch in net.
No.
You know what I mean? I think it's really, it's not really, not really reinventing the wheel by saying, whoever wins game 1 is probably going to have the advantage. But I think it does. I think it really does come down to that.
Just look at Columbus. They knocked out Tampa Bay last night in Tampa Bay.
Can't believe that.
3-0 deficit in one. But anyway,
and there you go. That's a 1-8 matchup right there. I mean, Tampa scored 3 goals in the first period, and Columbus just grinded it out and didn't panic. And they're up 1-0 on a team that a lot of people think is going to win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah,
which is kind of crazy. But
it's not a bad thing.
You look through, Boston. Obviously, they've got Brad Marchand, 100 points this year.
Yep.
So he's a big threat. Marchand, Pastrnak, Patrice Bergeron, David Krejci, Torrey Krug, and Jake DeBrusk. Those are the top 6 point scorers for Boston this year. And
Krejci's was a season high or a career high. He had 73.
Yes, exactly. And 20 goals, 53 assists. Boston can pass the puck. I mean, they're a methodical team. They're not as fast as Toronto is, but I think when it all comes down to it, I think kind of like that national championship we were just talking about. It kind of comes down to defense and goaltending. And Rask can get hot and cold, but they've got a good backup they can go to. I think if I'm going to make a pick, I'm going to say Bruins in 6.
Yeah, that's what I was leaning towards.
Yep.
Bruins in 6, maybe 7. It really all depends. The biggest thing that the Bruins are going to have to overcome is their injury history. This year they've been decimated by injuries throughout the course of the year. They had 4 players appear in more than 75 games, but none of them was a defenseman, which is a stat that's just like, holy cow.
Right.
You never ever really see that. But they're also going to start the series without Kevin Miller, center Sean Curley, and defensive John Moore. So 3 players down there, so now you've got to fill them in. But, it is what it is, and the Bruins have withstood the adversity all year.
They have depth.
They're 49-24-9 in the regular season, the second best in the Eastern Conference, and I'm pretty sure probably the second best in NHL. I'm not sure. I can't remember who was the top team from the West. But
I think it was Calgary. Yeah, I believe it was Calgary.
I can't remember what the record was off the top of my head. They'll do pretty well.
But talking about injuries, let's turn the page to the Celtics because we've got a big injury to talk about. Just broke last night, I believe. Marcus Smart, who's pretty much all team defense, all NBA, heart of that team. not torn oblique, but
torn oblique.
Torn
left
so
oblique.
they're
4 to
saying
6
he's
weeks.
4 to 6 weeks. So definitely the first 2 rounds of the playoffs. So I mean, if the Celtics can somehow make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, he might be ready. But I mean, we cannot underscore this enough. That is a huge blow for this team.
Oh, it's absolutely massive. It's your best defensive player, and he's had his best career high in field goal percentage at like 42 and 36% for 3-point shooting.
Yeah.
You know, I can remember when he came into the league, he couldn't shoot a 3 worth a damn.
Right.
But now he's taking great strides over the course of these past couple of years of when he's been in.
And really also like kind of the emotional leader of this team.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? I'm not saying he's a captain or he's not Kyrie Irving or any of these other guys, but you know, a lot of guys they take their cues from a guy like Marcus Smart. He's all heart out there, and them being without him, that's gonna be a big loss. But that game 1 is gonna be Sunday 1 o'clock at TD Garden.
Yeah.
So let's chat a little bit about that. Obviously, they've got the Pacers. They're the 5 seed.
Which
we've
kind of been previewing because we knew they were going to have.
We were
kind
of thinking that that's the way this was going to fall. To just like are the 4 or 5 who's going to get home court, and Boston gets it. Luckily, I think they're going to need it, especially now.
Yeah, but a silver lining in the Smart injury is that we have Jaylen Brown to step in because Brown's been coming off the bench, but now he goes back to his starter role, which I think irked him a little bit start of the year and throughout the course of the season. You could tell from his body language and the way he was getting into it with coaches and players. And I think especially from last year when they made that Eastern Conference Finals run, and him and Jason Tatum were the stars of the show there.
Yep.
And now he's got to take a back seat to these superstars.
But now he's going to get back out there. So I mean, who knows? Like now that Tatum and Brown are going to be out there, like more minutes. I mean, like this isn't an addition by subtraction situation. You can't underscore the importance of the Smart injury. But who knows? I mean, like maybe this is like a Patriots next man up mentality, and getting the crowd into it early in that game against the Pacers is going to be huge. And obviously, like the Pacers have had injuries too. I mean, they lost Victor Oladipo, who's an all-star. They lost him around mid-season, but the difference with that is they've had half a season to adapt to not having him around. They've had guys like Bogdanovich, who's kind of stepped up and he's been leading the Pacers offensively. They've got their own brand of basketball that they're playing out there. I guess so. You've got some stats there for the Celts.
Yep.
What do you got there for this matchup?
Well, the Celtics finished on a high note the regular season. They won their final 6 of their 8 games, which is nice to see. You never want to go in on a losing streak. They won their last game as well, so they went out on a winning way, which is nice to see. Boston won the season series with Indiana 3-1, and during those 4 games, they averaged 117 points per game.
Mm-hmm.
So the offense is there, and I think that's going to be the difference. Is the Celtics' offense is so much better than Indiana's is that I think that they can get away with just scoring a bunch of points, and they're still going to play great defense because Brad Stevens is one of the best coaches in the league, and he's a defensive-minded coach. So I think the Celtics will win this series, but without Smart, I don't think they make it past Milwaukee in the next round.
Oh yeah,
if Milwaukee wins, obviously.
I couldn't agree more. And I'm not saying that I don't think the Pacers could win this series. I think the Pacers. I think this series might go 7. I mean, I think I might have picked the Celtics in like 5. Just based on just the Smart injury is so huge. You losing your best defensive player is a big loss. But I think I'm going to take the Celtics in 7. But obviously, I wouldn't be surprised if the Pacers figured something out and won it.
I'm going to go Celtics in 6. I don't think it goes to 7. I just think the Celtics have just a better offense. But I don't think they're going to get past the Bucks.
One of the big things that Brad Stevens is going to have to do is he's going to have to figure out a good way to manage these minutes because, as Kyrie's been saying, we can just turn it on in the playoffs. I mean, if you're a Celtics fan, that's what you want. I mean, you got to deliver, though. Yeah, we got to. It's go time now. I mean, we're here. But it's going to really come down to, how is he going to manage those minutes, with Smart being out, who's going to get more minutes. Obviously, we know Brown is, but, who's going to get more minutes off the bench and figuring out, what lineups are going to work.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a big part of it.
Hey, but just think next time we come back for another press box, Game of Thrones will start it.
Oh my God, yeah. It's a good thing it wasn't a night game because I'd definitely be watching Game of Thrones over the Celtics game 1 for sure.
Would be.
Yeah. But before we get out of here, just in case anybody was wondering, Masters update, Corey Connors is 3 under and he is leading very, very early, which means absolutely nothing.
The first of 4 days.
Yeah. So congratulations to Corey Connors. And until next week, I'm Mark, this is Zach, and this has been the Press Box.